begin now. It's 4 o'clock, and we'll hopefully have a lot of questions from you. So I don't want to waste any time. One of our candidates, Jeff, is not here. He is on his way. I just talked to him. So I'm going to go ahead and start and just let him fit in when he gets here. I am Betty Tabor, Chair of the Elections Committee. There are several committee members in the back to assist you if you have questions or comments. Also, if you decide you have a question somewhere in the middle of the meeting, if you'll raise your hand, somebody will come to you and bring you a card. Jane, you're going to do that, right? Jane's in the back, and she'll be glad to come and bring you a card to ask a question. Some of you may have received your proxy ballot today. I didn't. Normally when they're mailed on Friday, some of us get them on Saturday, but if you didn't, they should be there on Monday. This is your ballot. With the ballot, there's a bio in there of all the candidates, along with your helpful instructions on how to do your ballot and where to take it. It is the right of you, the membership, to decide who our directors on our board are going to be. You have the choice. It is from you that we decide who will be on our new board. We have 7 applicants as candidates. We did have one withdrawal, Brian Sikowski. Please support our election and vote your choice. I would be so happy if we got 4,000 votes this year since we have 7 candidates. We can get that if you talk to all your neighbors and encourage everybody to vote. 3 will be elected to 3 years, 1 will be 2 years, and 1 will be 1 year. Those will only be known following when the ballots are turned in. Questions must be related to your expectation of the directors on the board and not personal accusations. Please do not ask personal questions of one director. All answers come from all directors. The candidates will give a short personal introduction for you. Following those, they will be timed to respond to your questions. 2 minutes, we'll time them so that we can get in as many questions as you have. It's my pleasure to introduce these members here who have offered their time to serve on our board of directors in alphabetical order. Please hold your applause until all have acknowledged their introduction. Carl Clausen, Bob Ho, Jeff Johnson will be here, Larry Moreland, Brian Smith, Michael Tate, and Jennifer Sikowski. Your host, who will serve as our interviewer again, is that wonderful Jack Spadero. Thank you, Jack. You will be timed, but Jane Grinovisky, 2 minutes. We need new members on the elections committee. Please consider coming on the committee. Get an application at the Holcomb Building, fill it out, and come join us. Thank you for coming today, and if you have any questions, the girls in the back will be glad to help you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Would you kindly rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I believe each of the candidates have a brief moment to say your qualifications? Is that it?
Yes.
Is that correct? All right.
Want me to start?
Yes, go right ahead, Larry.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Glad you came. And those that are going to be watching it on Channel 18 as well, I think this is a very important thing. First of all, I'd like to thank the Elections and Nominating Committee for all the work that they've done. There's been a lot of work this year with as many candidates, and we certainly appreciate that. As Betty said before, my name's Larry Moreland. I'm currently finishing out serving a one-year term on the board and running for re-election. I served on many different boards, school boards, and other volunteer boards in 3 different states, so I feel like I bring those qualifications. What I'd briefly like to state is what I think we'll be working on and what I'm working for as a board member. We're going to be still working on the fitness and pool projects up on the clubhouse point. That's going to take some time, but I think we're moving ahead. We're going to get the Sweetbriar pool built and open by next year for those people that were there. I want to be able to tweak the lakes management report to deal with things like invasive species and some of the forebay things to be sure those can be cleaned out and not be overcome by rainwater. We need to tweak our boat and kayak sticker rules. There seems to be a little inconsistency on some of those, our legal parking, and continuing our cooperative efforts with all the people in Orange County. They're very good to us. New initiatives this year, I'm very strongly in support of our 50th celebration. This will be 2017, will be the 50th year for Lake of the Woods. I have a great committee that's working on that, and I'm looking forward to doing what we can with that group. I'm also looking at security issues is where I'd like to really focus, and we had a busy week this last week. We have people still getting into the lake, so we need to work on how we are going to take control of that, how we're going to do with some of the drug problems we're facing. And mainly I want to work with the chief and our youth committee on the various activities that we're going to establish to keep our youth occupied. And so those are the things that I'm really looking forward and hope to be able to accomplish for you on the board. Thank you.
Mr. Clausen?
Hello, my name is Carl Clausen. Number one, I want to thank the election committee for having this opportunity to speak to you people that are members of the community. I plan to try to keep our dues as stable as possible. I realize that we can't have things and not spend money, and sometimes dues will go up, as they always have. I want to try to help the youth of this community and get more things to do for them. I want to try to make the youth realize that there are things out here available for them. They just have to be contacted and come and enjoy them. Try to keep the maintenance of everything in this community as it is, and even better, because I've noticed a lot of things in here that need to be repaired. Before we start building too many things and spending a lot of money on future projects, I strongly believe we need to catch up with what we've got and bring the maintenance under control of this community. I've been on 3 committees for the last 3 years. I've been on the ECC, Maintenance and Ecology, and the Equestrian Committee. Serving on these committees, I wouldn't be running for the board if I hadn't been on these committees to find out what's going on. I've been here 4 years. I'm a newcomer. I came from Aquia Harbor. I lived there 13 years. I feel strong on volunteerism. I would like to get more people involved in this community in volunteerism to try to help with the maintenance, with the youth, with ongoing projects, anything that they would be willing to step up with their experience and bring their experiences in front of this board so we might be able to utilize some of them. I guess I'm not much of a public speaker, by the way. I'm a construction guy. I've been in construction all my life. I was a Class A and a Class B contractor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I will definitely keep an eye on the buildings and what's going on in here and the budgets for those buildings. I ran a business for 42 years. I never lost money and never had a complaint. So if you can, please vote for Carl Clausen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ho.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, now it's on. Got to be smarter than the microphone. Thank you all for coming today. I think it's going to be an interesting afternoon and hopefully an educational one for everyone concerned. My wife Louise and I have been here. This is our 30th year of owning a house here, both part-time and full-time, and we've seen some amazing changes over those 30 years. Fortunately, most of those changes are for the good, but I believe we're at a critical juncture right now because of that 30 years that we've been here and more. I think everyone here is aware of the issues that we're facing. The survey that came out a couple of years ago listed 24 amenities, and of those 24, 12 now kind of have issues that require attention and funding. And we've engaged some of them already, and there are more that are coming soon. I believe that the members of the new board starting next month, and I would like to be one of them, have their hands full from the very get-go. I'm running for the board because I think I can contribute to that process as we move forward. I think that it's very important, or I wouldn't be up on the stage right now. I have time now to devote to the board duties now that I'm not fully engaged working. And I have the support of family and friends to do this, so I think I'll be in a good position to help out the entire community. The issues that I mentioned that we're facing, I'm sure we'll get into more of those, and Larry went through a lot of them already, but they're not going to wait. We have to start planning, we have to start addressing them, and we have to start figuring out how to take care of them all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tate.
So my wife told me this morning from China, tone down your shirt and smile a lot. She says, you always look too serious. Yeah, but I'm happy inside, and I'm really glad to be here.
Get closer to the mic.
Okay, so my wife told me from China that I need to tone down my shirt and smile a lot. And let you know that I always look too serious, but I'm really happy to be here. I'm glad to be a part of this board candidates. I've been here since 1999 and wasn't really involved until I was laid off or retired from my company. And the first involvement I had here was in 2005. I was the choir director at the local church here for a year. And that actually is when I first started meeting neighbors and meeting people. And then a couple years ago, I went on the M&E, or Maintenance and Ecology Committee, and then serving on the Pool Committee, and then on the Ad Hoc Committee. Just gave me a sense of what you can do and what needs to be done. We have a lot of issues facing us as far as our money in the next few months. I'm really concerned about how we spend our money to maintain what we already have. We certainly don't want to not maintain our amenities and our roads and our clubhouse and all the things that are needed to keep things in proper working order. So I think that's one of the first priorities that we need to look at before we spend a lot more money on new things to make sure we have enough money to maintain what we already have. I'm sure hoping when the bids go out for Sweetbriar Pool that it'll come in lower than the estimate of $660,000+. And that would be a nice treat to have a little bit of money back in our pocket on that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that pool being built here. I think it'd be really nice, not only for a swim team, but it's for the community. It's a community pool. We want to make sure that we have something that's nice that we can work on and use along with the zero entry for handicap. I'm almost to the point where I need help getting down the aisle too. I don't want to jump in and hurt myself. So I'm looking forward to a redesigned configuration that we can always, work with. So glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Zukowski.
Hello, it's good to be here, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions. My husband and I have lived here for 26 years and raised 2 of our children here. I commuted to D.C. for 18 years and worked as a manager for attorney employment and professional development, worked with a lot of lawyers, a lot of different viewpoints, and I've had a lot of experience building consensus. When we moved here, we thought that this was the most beautiful community we've ever seen, and it's still a beautiful community. It's going to be 50 years old next year, so it has some aging infrastructure that we're going to need to work on. After I retired in 2008, I was a member of the Youth Activities Committee, that's what it was called in those days, the Pool and Fitness Committee. Now I'm a member of the Fitness Committee, a member of the Planning Committee, was on the ad hoc committee for the Pool Fitness Center Outdoor Recreation Complex. I am the chair of the this year's land use study for the Planning Committee, and I worked in the Locust Grove Primary School with Project Excel. Children are very important to me, and I have seen we have a lot more children now than we did 26 years ago. I am also one of the founding directors for Friends of Lake of the Woods, which is a new 501c3, which we can contribute to and get tax deductions. I'm very proud of that. As if I'm a member of the board, then I can no longer be a member of a director and flow, but it has been a wonderful endeavor. And I look forward to serving you. I am committed to giving you everything I've got and working with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just in time, Mr. Johnson.
I am Jeff Johnson, and I'm the guy that on 216 Yorktown Boulevard, my house got struck by lightning. So that's where I've been. So if you want to see a tree split in half and have your car's electrical system go out and then have it travel into your house, I'll be more than happy to be a demonstration for you. So my name is Jeff Johnson. I'm 48 years old, originally from Toledo, Ohio. Let's see, retired from the Air Force in 2014, 26 years. I was a federal agent for 18. I have 5 kids total. I have 2 living with me here, a 16 and a 17-year-old. Work up in D.C. for the Department of Education. I'm a contractor for Foxhole Technologies. And I work on, I'm the program manager for the cybersecurity branch. And I like to lift weights. I like the gym. I'm honored to be up here. And did I catch up so far? I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Smith.
Well, until Jeff walked in, I thought I was the baby of the bunch, but he's got me by 3 years. So, moved here in 2003 with my wife. And we've got a daughter that's 11 years old. As far as my work background, military, and I've done everything except flip burgers for a living. What I'm looking at doing, if I get on the board, is trying to make sure we've got the most reasonable assessments that we can have for our dues, as well as maintaining everything. I've had a couple of people tell me, you don't want to spend any money. Close. I don't want to spend money if we don't have to. If we need to, fine. But if we don't need to be building King's Dominion North up there by the clubhouse point. We do need a new pool, we need a new fitness center, but it also needs to be something realistic. I just want to try and make this a better community. Listening to people talking around the area about moving different places and looking for houses different places. Whenever I hear them mention Lake of the Woods, they always come back with 2 things. They hear that the rules are too restrictive and that the fees are too high. So what can we do to change that? What can we do to change that perception if it's wrong? So I'm hoping we can make some changes for the better here, but still maintain and improve things as well.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of questions already that I have cards up here for. Some of them have some similarities along with them. In view of the number of candidates that we have and the time allotted, I'm going to try and combine as many as I possibly can to answer your specific types of questions. But please bear with me. If there's something that I don't ask specifically, see the ladies at the back and get another one. All right, let's start off with a question that everybody always wants to know, and we'll start with Mr. Moreland. How long have you been a full-time resident here at Lake of the Woods?
Thank you, Jack. We fight with this all the time. I've been a full-time resident here in Lake of the Woods for 4 years, and we moved here, and I've been involved with the Neighborhood Watch, and then a number of committees in that time period. So I think I've become pretty ingrained into the community and all the various aspects of it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
I've been here 4 years as well. Well, I guess that's pretty much the answer to that question. 4 years.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ho?
For us, it's 10 years.
I've been here since 1999.
Okay.
I heard that.
Ms. Zukoski?
26 years.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
2 years.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Been here since October of 2003, so going on 13 years.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question will start off with Mr. Clausen. If elected, can you commit the required time to personally attend the full range of board functions and assignments?
Well, I wouldn't be up here if I wasn't going to spend the time. I'm not a quitter, never have been a quitter, and I will come to every one of the functions possibly. I know sometimes it's going to be hard for me to attend some of the meetings, mainly because I don't know what the future holds for me, but I will definitely be here for all the meetings it's asked of me to be.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. O?
Since I decided to become a candidate, I've been trying to attend all the committee meetings at least once. So far, I've been to all but 2, and I realize now how much time it will take. I knew that pretty well beforehand, and I am ready, and I think that we'll be able to continue that to make all the board meetings. There may be exceptions for family emergencies or something else, but other than that, it should all work out.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Tate?
Yes, I'm planning to make a real concerted effort to do whatever it takes to be here and do my job. And the answer is yes.
Thank you. Ms. Zukoski?
Most definitely committed. I've been attending the board meetings for the last year, almost all of them, and I learned a lot, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. So yes, committed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Absolutely. There's no one up here that's going to say no, that they're not going to commit themselves and their time and their energy to making this community better. But I think what needs to be stated is that along with all those efforts, along with the time and the energy that we're going to put into it, it takes a community. So while you're looking at people up here that want to make a difference, it takes a community to be able to communicate, to be able to make sure that what's carried out actually means and makes a difference. So while we are, I'm sure, all going to put in the time and the effort to make this community better, it's going to take an entire community to make ourselves and our children better.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, like he said, everybody up here is going to say yes. Me, myself, I normally run on the ambulance on Tuesdays until 6 o'clock. So when the meeting's starting at 7 o'clock, if I get a late job, I may be a little bit late for the meeting, but I'm definitely going to do my best to get to it as quickly as I can. So I believe everybody up here has the intention of doing that.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question will start with Mr. Ho. Each new board sets its own goals. Please name 3 goals that you would like to see the next board include on their list.
Well, I think there are many goals, and it's kind of tough to get it down to 3. As I visited, as I mentioned, all of the committees, there are a lot of priorities. I would put them into 3 time frames. One is real time, and that is from the day one, and that's the Sweetbriar Pool. That needs to be planned, carefully executed, and watched closely to make sure that it's ready to go on the 27th of May next year when Memorial Day weekend starts. So that's the first goal that I see. Second goal is related to communications. I think we can do better, in particular with the website and how it's approached. I think the website needs to be revamped so that it is includes a relational database. And by that I mean including a search capability, so you have a LOA Google. So it's simple, it's functional, and it's very effective for people that want to get on it and learn more about what's going on in the community. Along with that is the responsibility for people to get inputs into it in a timely fashion. And that is one area that I think can be improved, excuse me, that I've seen so far. The third objective or goal that I have is before we embark formally with a contract on the clubhouse, pool, and fitness center, we need to get our act together. We have to plan for it. We have to be ready to track it before we execute. That's a big project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tate?
I think one of the things that we need to consider the next year is when you look around the room today, there aren't too many people under the age of 50 or even 40 or even 30 here. So I think we need to find a way as a board to find ways to involve the younger families, either developing programs with the youth, come up with more community things, find a way to have activities that bring some of the newer families or younger families, to these meetings and be a part and have a voice. So I think as a board we need to figure out how to do that. Secondly, I think one of the things that we need to commit ourselves to develop more walking paths. I attended a meeting the other night where somebody was talking about, well, I don't have sidewalks and this. Well, we're not going to do sidewalks, but places where people can walk or have their dogs, or just developing more areas for them to get out and do things would be a good idea. And third, I kind of agree with Bob. The sweet by our pool, it's got to get started. We need to get competitive bids. We need to watch any cost overruns and get that pool developed so that it's enforced next year, so we're ready to use it. Because we certainly would have to have that in place before we can move forward with another pool. So those would be the things that I think the board ought to consider.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zukowski?
New HOAs are focusing more on providing lifestyle opportunities for their members. This includes walking, jogging, biking paths, which we've been working on, fitness center. But in Lake of the Woods, we have a lot of lifestyle activities that we can take advantage of, such as the pickleball, pickleball, tennis, swimming, all of those things. So I'd like to have some kind of focus on improving these opportunities for people here. I also think that we should focus on the pool, fitness center, outdoor recreation complex. We need to take into account that we're still having problems at the front gate, and we don't particularly like the solution that we've been given so far, it seems, but eventually something has to be done about that. And communications is also very important, and I noticed on this year's board priorities, they're talking about having electronic voting. When Dwelling Live becomes a reality here, right now, not enough people are signed up for Constant Contact, so not everyone gets informed, or they're not able to fill out surveys, or they don't know what's going on. With Dwelling Live, I think we need to make a concerted effort to make sure that everyone in the community gets contacted.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Johnson?
For me, the first thing is always going to be communication. And there's no easy way to communicate with anybody, because the last thing I want is another text message or another automated phone call. But how do we effectively communicate to each other? And part of the things are that we need to just embrace each other and make sure that enough people come to these meetings. And I know that's hard. I know the board has tried to do that before, but the biggest thing is, and all the men can attest to it, we have to improve in communication. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we need to listen twice as much as we talk. So that's effective communication, first of all. And I don't have an answer as to what the best form of communication is. No idea. We try the lake currents, we try different things. I don't know, but I'd like to get out there and talk to people and find out what they would prefer to have the best. The second thing is community, and part of that is embracing our teens and making sure that our kids have enough opportunities and things to do here in the lake to keep them involved and not having too much free time on their hands. Because I have 2 kids, and I'll tell you right now, they have too much free time on their hands. So whether that's sports activities or community and just involved with fitness and lifestyle, and like I said, the walking trails and different things, there are opportunities that we have here that we just need to improve on, and they don't need to be extraordinary amounts of money spent on them. I think there are self-help projects that we can do. Obviously, I believe in the community center, and probably the last thing on my agenda is just going to be accountability, making sure that if you have questions and I propose something on the board and it doesn't get followed through on, is to be able to come back and look you in the eye and tell you why it didn't get approved. And it's not to complain about it. It's just to tell you that maybe it's for another year or it's another opportunity, but it's not to complain, it's not to gripe. It's just to be able to be accountable to you, to communicate, and to make our community better.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that communications is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing we need to improve, since there's a lot of empty seats here, folks. We've got over 4,000 homes in this community. That's roughly 8,000 adults, you figure, and we've probably got, what, 40, 50 people here? That's not a good showing. We need to get more people involved. We can't change things without the involvement of the community. As far as the other priorities, there are so many different things that everybody wants done, so many different things that are being forced down our throats, like the golf referendum, the pools being jammed down our throats. We're not really getting a chance to research this and to take it all in and understand it. We need to slow down on some things. Yes, the pool is a definite we need. My daughter's on the Barracudas, and this year has not been good for them not having this pool. It's made a big difference in their performance and not for the better. They're still kicking butt, though. They're trying to anyways. But in the meantime, we need to slow down, take a deep breath, and figure out what's going on first. We've got all these subsidies going out to the different amenities that we've got, like the clubhouse, the equestrian center, the golf course. Is there anything we can do to tighten those down? Because as far as people being able to do activities like walking paths and such, it's kind of hard to do when people are working 2 and 3 jobs right now trying to make ends meet. So if we could make things more financially responsible and be able to let them enjoy these things by not having to work all those jobs, that might be better too.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Moreland.
Well, as everybody said, there's a lot of different issues. I listed some of those in my opening remarks that we need to be working on. My particular goals are to continue to try to keep the board working together. I think that's very important that we can coalesce and be behind these issues, that we set some firm and clear goals for the board so that everyone knows what those are, and kind of a little bit what Jeff said, to be better listeners and really take and hear what you're saying as we address the whole myriad of issues that we have coming up before us, whether it's trying to figure out what's a proxy ballot or an absentee ballot or it's barcodes or whatever it might be. There are a lot of issues, and we just need to continue to work forward as a group that's working for the betterment of this lake. And Jack, I'd like to just take 1 second to answer the first question, which, or the question about our time commitment since I got missed. And my only statement on that was, some people have wondered if I could still do both Neighborhood Watch and the board, and I've done that the last 2 years, so that's not a problem. And I really look forward, and I have the time to spend on board matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Clausen.
Well, I would like to see, one of the goals is we start making a little bit more money with the amenities we have in here, so our dues can at least stay the same. If not, I would like to see some people these managers try to make profits in these amenities that we have, because right now some of them's just not making any money. And I know I ran a business for quite a long time, and I knew if I didn't make money, I'd be out of business. And the bank would be on me wanting to know why I'm not making money. And I think that's what our board might want to try to do with the general manager and the people that he's in control of. I'd like to see that, number one. Number two, I'd like to see more for the youth and the older people living here, some things for them to do as well. If we're going to build a new pool, I would personally like to see it enclosed so we could use it 12 months out of the year. I would like to see, and a way to pay for that maybe is the months during the summer when it's free, let it be free, but if you want to go into a heated pool in the wintertime, you have to pay a fee to use it. And that would help generate capital to help pay for this pool. I would also like to see things at that pool like a sauna and a steam room for some of the older people that they could actually use some of the amenities in here. We don't have a lot that they can use, and most of them just stay at home and they don't go anywhere and they don't do anything because they got to get out and be able to do something. There's nothing available in here for a lot of them. The third one is the youth in here. Once again, we've got to figure out ways that these kids can stay off the basketball courts and doing crazy stuff and things I've seen in Larry's report about drugs and what have you. And we need to stop some of that. There's one way to do that is give the opportunity to more kids to do things better.
Thank you, sir. Our next question will start off with Mr. Tate. I have three that are extremely similar. I'm going to try and paraphrase from each of the three and give you a good question that each of the candidates will be able to hopefully answer. There have been public meetings and presentations on Channel 18 about the new pool complex / fitness center at the clubhouse and replacement of the damaged Sweetbriar pool. The total cost estimates are in excess of $7 million. Number one, do you support these? Number two, how?
Well, I just wondered if that question was going to come up tonight.
Yeah.
And who was going to get it first?
Sure did.
You know, for me, it's kind of a yes and no. You know, I know we would like to have a nice fitness center. I know we would like to have a nice pool complex up there. I'm kind of would like to wait and see what the bids come in for the Sweetbriar pool before, you know, hopefully they'll come in under budget, and then that might give us an indication what the cost might be moving forward on the clubhouse pool. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, I've just had a lot of work done at my house that $1.4 million to build a 5,200 square foot box on a slab with a couple restrooms. That just seems a lot of money for that. I just think that is overpriced. And again, if it's possible that we like the Sweetbriar pool, maybe that same mold can be moved up to the clubhouse, and that would save us some money too. And so maybe $7 million is a lot of money. I don't know that at this point in time I would say yes, and I know I probably wouldn't say no. I'm just kind of in between because for me it's just a wait and see. We got to get better numbers, better estimates, hopefully better bids, and when we finally can get all of that together in a better picture, then I think we're ready to move forward and making some decisions. Right now, it's just way too early for any of us to say, yes, I'm ready to move forward and do this, because we just don't know enough. So for me, it's just kind of wait and see, get some more information, and then make a reasonable decision. What is it going to cost? Involve the Finance Committee, involve the Planning Committee, look at all the options, and then say, okay, now we're ready to do something.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zukowski.
Okay, here's how I see the pool fitness outdoor recreation complex. We start with the parking. It's obvious that the clubhouse needs extra parking. If you're a senior, that's the highest part of the area. There's the most steps. So we definitely need additional clubhouse parking. We also need ADA parking for the pool and the fitness center. So that means if we add parking up there, then we're going to have to shift the footprint of the pool. Like the pool can wait, 10 years, and we could patch it up. According to the consultants, that will cost us around $2 million to patch it up until it ends, reaches the end of its economic life. But in the meantime, we don't have the proper parking. We need a new fitness center. We can't put a fitness center up there until we do something about the pool. So it seems like we need to do something. Should it cost $7 million? I can't see that. It's just it seems too much. So I think if I'm elected to the board, I like to work with people like some of the contractors, some of the people who've worked with pools, and see what some of their ideas are, and see if we can get it to cost less than that. Because I think it's a lot of money.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I like her. Look, I like how she thinks. I like how my wife thinks. I think women have just such a different way to view things, and I so appreciate that. And I'm about 99% in line with everything she has to say. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see the last 2 years' data on how many people are using both pools. Because I'll tell you what, I like going to the pool. Look at my face, I'm red. But I'll tell you what, it's not packed all the time. So how many people are really, over the last 2 years before it broke, how many people use the Sweetbriar pool and how many people use the other pool? Because if we can get by with one pool for a couple of years and then generate some income and then patch it and then fix it, it's unfortunate for the kids that need to use it for practice, but maybe there's a workaround. As far as the fitness center goes, I know it's a moneymaker. I know that if you make something bigger, people are going to come and they're going to use it. And I think that there needs to be some type of, and I don't have an answer, some type of accountability system for how many kids come in there, just knock on the door, come in there and use it. How many people use it that aren't authorized to use it? Because I'm in there a lot, probably 6 or 7 times a week, and there's a lot of people I think that are in there that are not authorized to use it. They don't pay to use it. So again, I don't have an answer for it. Am I in favor from the new fitness center? Absolutely. Do I have an idea or good agenda for how much it should cost? Absolutely not. Would I be willing to go to different fitness centers and different CrossFit centers and try and get equipment donated to us? 100%. Because I think that it's a lifestyle that benefits everybody from the young to the old. As far as the pool goes, again, when I'm in the pool by the club with my wife and it's maybe 60% full, I'm sorry, I just can't see having 2 pools at $7 million right now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith?
The fitness center is very important. As he said, it is one of the few money makers we've got here. As far as building a new building, if you open these doors and look outside, you're going to see a great big huge field. Why can't we just add on to this building instead of tearing down instead of tearing down what we've got now and then rebuilding something humongous? The pool, as far as offsetting the costs, I've been talking to some people and I've been hearing some numbers about, okay, yeah, $7 million to build the pool, but then I'm hearing that it's going to cost about $1 million a year to maintain it if we go for a heated pool. I'm still trying to verify these numbers because that's not my forte. I don't build pools. I don't maintain pools, so I don't know what the actual costs are. But that's definitely something we've got to look at is what is it going to cost to maintain these pools when we redo them and if we do make it an enclosed year-round pool. Another thought on subsidizing the pool is right now our county swim team for the school has to go down to Charlottesville to practice. I'm sure Charlottesville is not letting us do it for free. So why not approach the school board, see what they're willing to give us if we put in a year-round pool here so that they could practice here and still stay within the county, and then they're still keeping the money within the county instead of farming it out. There's a whole bunch of things we can look at as far as saving cost and determining what costs are going to be. There's just so much that needs to be done before we just jump in and commit to building a new pool or a new fitness center.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland?
Well, these are big issues. I have a little bit different slant on them. I think our fitness center definitely needs some work to be done. I'm surprised in some ways it hadn't been closed down because of the air quality, but I also know and agree with Jeff, we've had a number of problems on people using that aren't authorized, and they are trying to work on that. There are a lot of issues still to be faced. There's been a lot of work that's been done, and I'd like to thank the ad hoc committee on the pool and fitness for the time they put in and the guidance they've given us to get us to where we are now at the options we have to look at. That was a lot of work. we still have to look at those. The other issue, I think, is the financing. I know the Finance Committee and Planning Committee will be working on and looking at options that might be available, which will help to dedicate, or dictate, I should say, perhaps which directions we go. And I know they're looking, you could do a one-time assessment, you could do a multi-year assessment, you could do a bank loan, all that kind of information. We have no feedback on that yet. And so I want to wait and see. I trust that group to come up with some of that information, so I think that's going to help dictate again which direction we go. It's a big issue. I am very much in favor of the fitness center. I do personally like the approach of putting it here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens and what the majority of the lake and the board wants to do.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
$7 million is a lot of money. If I had to spend that much money on a pool, I'd definitely look into a lot of different ways to do it. Coming from a construction background, I sure hope we get a lot of bids from different contractors. Not so much the ones we've already been using, but different ones, different people. Get some different opinions about what needs to be done. I know we spent a lot of money on this study and a lot of time from the ad hoc committee, and God bless them. That was a lot of work. We still got a long way to go on it because we haven't even started yet. There was talk about putting it here, but there was also talk about there's no parking here. If you have more than one or two events going on here, where are you going to park everybody? There's one other option. I don't know if anybody else has thought about it, but the campground. Why couldn't we put the fitness center down at the campground and have the parking down there? It would be plenty of room. I don't know how well that campground's maintained. I don't really see a lot of vehicles there a lot, but I go past it all the time, going to 9.9. That's another issue, 9.9. There's a lot of available land down there. And there's a lot of available land where we were going to put the old equestrian center. There's a lot of there too. So there's a lot of places we can put a lot of different things and have plenty of parking. I can't really see it happening here. I would love to see it happen here. If nothing else, move the soccer fields down there and have more of a sports complex here as far as fitness center. It's a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to bite the bullet. I know we can get it financed, we can make payments, and hopefully we can generate enough money to pay it off quickly, but it's going to be tough. That's about all I got to say about that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ho?
It's really fun to be last on this one. The thing that I believe is most important is that we've got to look at this, both the near term and the far term. Anything we do is going to affect this community for the next 50 years in some cases. The pool now has a 50-year approximately lifespan, and it's getting closer to the end of that. So the new pool, we can't just throw something together. We have to study it. We have to make sure we know what we really want and what the priorities are. But once we make a decision, the next thing that comes up is we get it designed properly and see what that's going to cost and how are we going to finance that. It's already been mentioned, we have several different options, and in my opinion, it's going to be a hybrid of some of those. When it comes to the fitness center, back in the survey from 2014 of items to be addressed in the 5-year plan, a larger fitness center was the highest ranked of any of those. And I think that it will be an important part of this. And I think there may be some economies of scale if we put them in the same location. If that is often the case, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And that would be the centerpiece of the community if we did it right. If we do it wrong, It's just going to be another problem to address later. So near term and far term before we make final decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Zukowski. Most HOAs raise their assessment every 3 to 4 years. Our assessment, our operational cost, has been increased every year for the past 5 years, 18% in the last 5 years to be exact. How do you believe the association can continue to support this dramatic yearly increase?
I've been looking at those increases. One of your members, one of your former board members, it gave me a chart that shows the percentages of assessment increases. At one time, it was raised 35%, at one time 28%, twice 19%, once 16%, and this was in 1 year. I don't think any of us want assessment to go higher. Ask my husband. He can't stand that. But at the same time, if this community becomes a community in decline, it can only go so far down, and then it's hard, almost impossible to bring it out. So sometimes we have to find a balance between keeping the assessment as low as we can and maintaining the community. And I have to say something in defense of the pools. I didn't explain this clearly enough. I understand why they want 2 pools, why the ad hoc committee wanted 2 pools. The pool we have at the clubhouse, it's got this tiny little part for the kids where they all get crowded, where it's 3.5 feet, and then the deeper part that doesn't get used very much. So when the kids get out, then other people can use the lanes. There aren't a lot of people who use them, but the thinking behind the Clubhouse Point pools is that it will serve every age, tots, little kids, people who want to do the lap pool, and people who want to exercise. So that's where the concept came from. Just wanted to explain that.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I had some really cool numbers to throw around, and she stole them all. So kudos to her for that. But honestly, in the 2 years that I've been here, one of the conversation pieces that I've had talking to different neighbors, both military and civilian, are the attraction to the Lake of the Woods has been the different amenities that we have to offer. The one common theme that has not been an attraction are the raising HOA rates. So can we sustain it? Absolutely not. Not and be attractive to the community to get both younger members and even older people to come here. Before I moved here, if I had known the rate increases that have been here over a decade, I probably would have not, and my wife definitely would have not chosen to come here. What we did come here for was we liked the community. We liked the quietness of it. We liked the different activities that we saw, and it was attractive to us. But we absolutely cannot sustain increasing our HOA rates constantly, and we absolutely cannot sustain it if we want to be attracting new people. Do I have an answer? I'm not going to come here and tell you that I do. Absolutely not. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But what I will tell you is that when you get great minds that come together, and no offense, but you pray and you ask God for some direction and you figure out where you need to go and you wait and you listen and you depend on that, I think that we can absolutely succeed. But I can't come here until you have a plan for it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith?
I've been approached by a few people that have taken sort of offense at my wanting to lower the association dues. And I constantly hear how, well, we're lower than Northern Virginia associations. That's nice. We're not Northern Virginia. Why do we have to have association dues that are similar to other communities in the area? Why can't we have the lowest dues in the region? So I'm all for doing an audit, more specifically a forensic audit of all the books and contracts, and make sure that the money is accounted for, that if there's fat that can be trimmed, it gets trimmed. Speaking with Mr. Tate a while back, he mentioned how when he was working for this company, contracts got lost, his pay went down a little bit, and it's just something that happens in business. In this economy, we've got people losing jobs, they're not getting raises, but our assessment keeps going up. That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't seem to make sense. You've heard of a yes man? Well, in something like this, I'm a no man. And Mike, I didn't mean to rat you out, but that was the best example I could come up with.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moreland?
Well, it would be first to point out that the assessment went up less than the inflation rate during the last budget cycle. And so we did put a very small number on the board this last year. The process of the budget is handled by members of the community. Our finance committee, planning committee are there and address and get the information from all the operating units within the Lake of the Woods. We then have the opportunity to work with those numbers down or up with what the members want to have happen within the lake. And that's the process whereby we can keep the number lower or keep the number where it's at or meet inflation. Everything else that I deal with at home has gone up some, and I never have assumed I was going to be someplace that was always going to be less than that. But I think it is our duty to look and see if we can be as conservative as possible but still meet the needs of the community. And that budget process is the place where that happens. And we need to get more community involvement in that process if people are not happy with where we are at this time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clausen?
Once again, the dues in here are, there's a lot of people living here on fixed incomes, and they just really can't afford to do much else. We're going to have to start supporting, just like any business. If you've got business in the community, you have to go there and support that business and make sure they make a profit or they go away. There is no, I don't know how we're expected to continue having amenities in here that lose money. We've got to figure out a way that they can start getting in the black, whatever it takes. Better buying, better management of people, making sure the right people in the right positions, that they know what they're doing. And it's just not, you've been here 3 years, well, there's an opening, you automatically get the job. Are you qualified for that job? We need to make sure people that are in a position know what they're doing. I hate to see the dues go up. I'm just like everybody else. I'm on a little fixed income, my wife works, I'm retired. It's tough sometimes to bite the bullet. But if I've got to bite the bullet, I want to see management bite the bullet.
Thank you. Mr. O?
This is, as you can tell by all the responses so far, a very complex and a touchy issue. And certainly we'd like to keep the assessments as low as possible. I think in the past I know there were some years where they did go down. I think there were some years where they went up possibly more than they should have. But I think the important thing is to be consistent with how we approach it, come up with a plan, and then make sure that we communicate the rationale behind any assessment to the people. I think the majority of the people here will understand if it's explained in a way that makes sense, common sense and common logic. The assessments, realistically, I think, are not going to go down. That's just the way in today's inflation, although very low, there still is inflation. And I think that to have this community as a viable and an attractive place in the future, we've got to make sure that we meet the standards that people will demand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tate?
When I decided that I'd like to be a candidate for the board of directors, I'm one of these kind of guys that say, why? Why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And I tend to ask why a lot. So I sat down with a member of the finance committee, and the first question I asked him is, why did the money go up? When I first got here, it was around $800 a year, and now it's $1,300 plus. So he printed a report for me that showed me, again, the raise or the past years. And so I said, why And he said, because for a long time we did nothing to maintain anything, and things weren't, being maintained, things were falling apart. And all of a sudden, a new board came in and says, maybe we can just start collecting more money so that we maintain a clubhouse, maintain the roads, where things were neglected. So I understand it takes money to operate an association. We have a lot of amenities. We have great roads. And like I said in one of the interviews, I was so glad that during the snow time that I wasn't out plowing the streets. A paid employee was doing that. I'm just hoping that when the budget committee meets, that they will seriously ask the various department people, are you sure you need this much money? Administration cost, how much raises are you planning on passing out this year? Maybe this year we need to tone things down. I'm not against getting a raise. I used to like getting a raise when I was paid. I've also taken a loss at times just because we didn't have all the money we needed that particular year to meet the budget. Same thing with the profit centers. Hopefully there'll be a profit center. A lot of our amenities are not a profit center, so we need to find out what do we need to do to make sure all this works together. Why are we going to do this? Do we really need this much money this year? And if we do, then let's put it into the budget. It's okay to have an assessment. If it takes more money, then it's going to take more money. If we can do it for less, then that'd be fine too.
Thank you, sir. Our next question will start with Mr. Johnson. The community is in turmoil over amenities that will not benefit the younger members, the teens, etc. of our community. What is your position to support the younger generation of lowers?
Well, I guess we need to ask them. I mean, when was the last time we asked them, what do you want? Is it a community center that's open so that they can have, they can have different functions here? What do you want? That's why I ask my kids, before we go to the grocery store, what do you want? And the answer is, I don't know. So if you can't get an answer from them, how can you please them? If you can't get an answer from your wife, men, how can you please them? So talk to them. There's got to be open communication. If it's a community center, okay, then if we build it, then you need to use it. If it's sports and fitness complex, then let's get people in there to educate them so that they can use it properly. If it's something that they're yearning for, like outdoor activities, then let's put someone, I'll even volunteer for it. Let's put something out there so that the kids can use it. We need to communicate to them, they need to communicate with us, and we've got to ask them, what do you want? If the youth are yearning for something to do, what is it? Is it a movie complex? Is it, free movies on a Friday night, show them in here on the wall? Is it just someplace where they can go and hang out and do nothing? Because if that's the case, then I'm not sure I'm in favor of that, because they have too much time on their hands. They already do that at the clubhouse now as it is. So, again, communication. If you're going to ask your grandkids, because you have them over, what do you want to do, it's so you can embrace them, right? So you can have time with them, so you can enjoy them, okay? So if we're going to appease our youth, then they need to tell us what they want. If they don't tell us what they want and we build something that's irrelevant, then we just wasted their money. So communication, ask them, what do you want?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith.
Could I have the question again, please?
Certainly. The community is in turmoil over amenities that will not benefit the younger members, our teens. What is your position and how you would support the younger generation of lowers?
Well, I've heard talk about people want a skateboard park. I know we tried that once before, but I've also heard comments that it wasn't safe, it wasn't really that good. But what exactly are they wanting? Are they wanting a skateboard park like you see in the movies out in California where it's like 12 acres and concrete and just all kinds of valleys and hills? And it's going to be hard to please them because what they're going to want may not be what we can offer. We do have good facilities here. We've got a gymnasium. We've got the fitness center. Maybe we can do something like offer a reduced rate for the teens for the fitness center. It's really hard to know what to do with kids nowadays because most of them have got their nose buried in an electronic device someplace. And everybody sitting in this room, when we were growing up, what we were playing with was our bikes, trees, sticks, and basically outdoors in general. So it's kind of hard for us to relate to them in a lot of ways. And honestly, I'm not sure how to approach the teens and ask them what they want. You know, are they going to take it seriously, or are they just going to give us some smart aleck remark figuring that we're not going to listen to them? Again, it's one of those things that it's going to take time to work on. It's not an overnight answer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moreland.
Thank you. As I stated in the opening remarks, this is one of my emphasis points for the coming year, and I think we have made some strides. I've been working with Tracy Butler and her son on some things that they might be wanting to do that we can organize for the youth. I know Candy Clevenger, and well, we got to work maybe on the title, the Children and Youth Activities, the CYA Committee. I think we need to work on that acronym a little bit for them, but that group has started to become more active and has become involved. They had a glow night party. They had an end of the school year party. They are planning a movie night that's coming up. I have been working with our security chief, who's got to be one of the best in the nation, Scott Walker, and he has some ideas and things that he's found that are skateboard park that you can put up and take down in 20 minutes, and it works. He's worked on a basketball court, new kind of a situation with that, and with some things at a beach that we could put out and have the kids can do. So I think we are starting to address that, and that's one of the things I think that's got to be a priority that we do in this coming year. And we do have some good people, and I agree with Jeff. Tracy and her mom and them say, let's ask the kids. Let's ask the kids, and they'll help us to know whether they want this or not, and they have been helpful, and they are starting to take part. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
Well, I was an assistant scoutmaster. I'm also an Eagle Scout with the Boy Scouts. I was a unit commissioner. And I'll tell you what, working with kids, you got to keep up with them. It's pretty tough. I mean, the kids come to my house and my grandkids, everybody's got some kind of little Game Boy in their hand, or they're on their phone. They don't want to go outside. They want to just stay inside and do that stuff. I think going back to simple things like they used to have a dance here for the teens on Friday night. Somehow that got stopped. I don't know what happened, but a sock hop, my gosh. I remember back when I was going to sock hops, the place was packed. You couldn't get in. We had live bands. It was wonderful. It was the greatest place on earth to go. Maybe get some of these kids to form their own little community, their own little get-together like this, set them down, elect a group, let them elect their own group, and develop their own things that they want to do and run it past the board and management and see what we can do to help them get what they want. But we've got to know what they want. Unless they tell us, if they can put down that phone long enough just to pay attention, they might get something about what they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ho?
Earlier this month, I went to the Community and Youth Activities Committee meeting. It was held over here at the community center. Unfortunately, we couldn't get into one of the classrooms that were scheduled, so we went out to the pavilion and had the meeting there. There were 3 mothers there and one of the kids. They were all very enthusiastic about this. They're ready to put in the time and put in the hours, but they need help. The kids, if they're going to do anything, it's got to be cool. They know what's cool. I don't necessarily know what's cool. I'm not in their loop. But somehow we need to bridge that gap. We've got to figure out and get them involved so that they can take the initiative to make things happen. If we can do that, then we'll all be a lot better off. The one thing that I thought might be a double incentive is if the people here in the community would set up a teen job bank, and teens would volunteer to work. We'd get them exercise, they could make some money, and do the community some good. I don't know how effective if there's a summer program, for example, to hire teens to do some of the work around the lake, but there are a lot of opportunities, I think. We just have to come up with the ones that the kids will like and the kids will take part in. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Tate?
The previous month, I attended the Youth and Community Activities meeting, and there was 5 or 6 of them there. I think they feel like they're just kind of restarting this activity all over again. Jim Hutchinson was there, that's a board liaison, and I said, well, if I get on the board, I'd sure like to have some information on what you'd like to do. And I talked to Candy Clevenger, who was the chairperson, and I said, well, what activities have you done for the youth? And she said, well, we haven't done a lot because they won't come. And I said, well, why won't they come? They said, well, all they want to do is hang out. And so maybe we ought to have a place where they can hang out, and that's clean and neat, and we don't have to worry about them hanging out at the basketball court with drugs and everything else that seems to be going on right now in our community. I think, when I sat down with Jim next day at Fairways, and I said, well, tell me, if I was the liaison for the youth committee, what can I do? Give them a budget. Give them some money so they have something to do with. They didn't get a budget last year. We need to act as a board like we want them to be a part of this community. We kind of have not wanted that. So I think what we need to do is figure out what do they want to do, talk to them, help the committee, which is, right now a lot of young mothers on it, give them some encouragement, give them some money to spend, and then show up and give them some support.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zukowski.
I attended what they called a vandalism conference because of the activities a lot of the teens were doing. They were destroying things and entering the fitness center, unauthorized entrance. And someone asked Sheriff Amos and Chief Walker, what can we do? And Sheriff Amos said that our community offers kids more than any place in Orange County. So we're doing better than most of Orange County. That's not to say it's enough, perhaps. Then we also have soccer. A lot of kids are involved with soccer. We have the Barracudas, and that's good. And I also attend the Community Activities Committee meeting. And one of the ideas they have is to have kids, teenagers, be part, like advisors, like part of it, to attend the meetings. Social media is really important for kids for communicating with one another, and I find it hard, but Facebook is for older people now, and it's not what the kids use. So I don't know what the kids use, but perhaps if we have the kids coming to the Youth Activities Committee meetings and they communicate with one another, then they'll be able to tell the community youth activities volunteers what it is they want. And in addressing the money situation, the reason they took away the money is because the kids weren't showing up. I mean, they hired people to be here so the kids could come and hang out and play games, do whatever they want, and they just didn't show up. So obviously, we are not tuned in to what they want. So perhaps if we get the other kids on the Community Youth Activities Committee and they connect with their friends, perhaps there will be some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question will start off with Mr. Smith. Social media describes some angry people. Do you think people are angry, and about what? If so, what would you do to calm that anger?
I'm not necessarily the one to ask that question of, because I'm pretty angry myself. There's definitely some anger. There's definitely some anger out there, and it's mostly frustration because people in the community, they feel like their voices aren't being heard, they're not being listened to. Many people say that they've tried to speak to the board and they get shut down. Nobody wants to listen to them. There's a situation 2 months ago, I think it was, at a board meeting. We had a gentleman that was trying to ask a question about an overrun and wanted to find out who was responsible, because his point was whoever was responsible should be the one paying for that additional charge, not the people in the community. And he got shut down like a fly being hit with a swatter and told, you'll have time to ask that question in a minute, and then a vote was immediately taken to go ahead and pay those funds. Now, personally, I think that was a very important question to be asked and answered, and should have been answered before any kind of action was taken to pay or not pay those fees or to hold somebody accountable. So there's a lot of anger out there, and I think a lot of it is justified, but people just need to feel like they're actually being listened to. And that's the problem. They don't feel like they're being listened to, at least the people that I've got contact with.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moreland.
Well, obviously, I'm a part of that anger, I guess, if we were doing that. I don't recall that incident myself, but I think you're always going to have some people who are upset. I think this board very much is willing to talk to people. I have to compliment Louisa. She is always willing to talk to people and sit down and meet with them. I have gone to many people's homes and knocked on the door and said, what was the problem? Can I help you answer your question? And I will take their phone calls. So I don't see that much more than I saw. I can tell you angry when I was on a school board and we were building a second high school and they'd had 20 straight years of the state football championship and we were going to delude that football team by having a second high school. Then I got called lots of names. That was anger. I don't see that. I see the people here as just wanting to visit, and we are open. I'm always open for questions, and the board has been. We're always willing to let somebody say, let us know. We'll visit with you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clausen.
Well, I'm guilty of listening to some of that, what I call it, the gossip Lake of the Woods, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, I read it sometimes, and these people start fighting with each other while they're on there. I mean, it's like, I don't think we can please all the people all the time. We're going to do our best as board members to try to bring everybody together. But there's always going to be one or two out there that's not going to like what we have to say, and we just have to deal with it. And they have to deal with these things themselves, too. And I noticed on some of these, it's always the same person bringing up the same complaints. So, I don't know. Maybe some people need some anger management. I don't know. But we do the best we can with what we got. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ho.
There may be a lot of frustration here in some cases. In some cases, it's probably justified. And in many cases, I think that it's not justified. I think people need to, from both sides, communicate better. I know some people may feel disenfranchised, but it's been my experience that that is a very small minority. You cannot please 100% of the people 100% of the time. Here, can you rarely please 100% of the people? Somebody said one time a couple of years ago that in a similar forum, you're not going to listen to all the special interest groups, are you? Well, that's all we have, our special interest groups. There's the Equestrian Center Special Interest Group, the pools, the tennis, the pickleball, and on and on and on. So the board's job is not a fun one in many cases. It can be rewarding, I hope. If I'm elected, it will be rewarding. But it's to balance all of these various special interests and come up with something that we really feel will be the best for the overall community, and again, both near-term and far-term.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tate.
Boy, I must be naive. I had no idea 3 months ago that there were other interests other than just living here peacefully and happily. I mean, that's all I've done for the last 10 years since I've been here. I go out on the lake, love the boat, swim in the lake, don't use the pool, don't use the fitness center. Had no idea there were factions around here. I just thought we were all neighbors. And, you know, we have an association, but, you get involved, you start hearing things, and all of a sudden, this group doesn't want to do this, and, don't touch this group over here, and boy, leave this amendment alone, and it's like, wow, why? Why can't we just get along? I don't understand. Wednesday night we had a meeting here, and in part of the meeting, there's a time that you could stand up and talk about the business item coming up. well, people were standing up and venting at that moment in time when they should have been doing it at the end, but our board president just sat back and smiled, allowed everybody to, take their time, and she didn't knock the gavel down saying you're out of order. I mean, I thought, well, that was a nice way to run that meeting. Let the people talk, let them say what they've got to say, and I just, the business meetings that I've attended, it just seems to me that you all have a chance to say or vent, and I think the board listens. They may not always do it your way, but I've listened, and I will continue to listen. And certainly as a board member, we are here to help you understand, again, why are we doing it this way.
Thank you. Mrs. Zukowski.
I have to say, I was pretty amazed by how angry some people are. I've been told that it's about 10% of the people. I take it very seriously because they're so angry. But I do want to say that this board listens to people. I was at a coffee and conversation with the board. There are only 5 people there. And this opportunity is available every month, I think. And we can go and talk about anything. We can be angry about anything, and it's addressed. A lot of times when I read Members Matters, some of the facts are wrong, and I just want to get in there and say, oh, no, you didn't listen, you didn't read this, you didn't see this. But so I think we should take everybody's concerns seriously, but I think that we have set up things so that people can be heard by the board.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I'm kind of like what you see is what you get. So when I was a commander in my last detachment, I learned to deal with parents that were angry because their kid killed himself, or a different number of things. But there's a lot that I do know, and there's a heck of a lot more that I don't know. I can't even please my wife 100% of the time. People will bitch about anything. My kids ask me, why do you even want to come in for the board? And I'm trying to teach my kids that if you want to make a difference in the community, then you have to be involved in it. Whether it's in their school, if they want to complain about school, then become a vice president of your class or a vice president, but be involved in trying to make a difference. And so for that small amount of people that want to bitch and complain about things, if you want to be angry, that's fine. But come with a solution or be part of the solution. So if we identify something, then embrace it and then come with it. And if it doesn't come out in your favor, then understand why. But if you can't communicate, if you're irate, if you're angry, and you can't have an open dialogue, then you're not going to get anywhere. So what do you do with the angry people? You can listen to them like the board has, bless your heart. But then you got to realize that if you listen to them, that's all they want to do is complain. Do they have an answer? Probably not. They just want to bitch. And so you got to listen to them, and then hopefully they'll entertain a communication and a dialogue where you can make them understand that I appreciate you bringing up your problem, but help me with a solution, because I don't know everything. I'm told that by my wife a lot. I'm told that by my kids every day. I don't know what's going on because I can't relate to them. Come to me with a solution. Let me help you. Let's embrace a community and stop bitching about everything. Are there going to be people that are unhappy? Sure. And just deal with it. But what's the solution? I think it's coming together as a community and a bunch of adults and just trying to come up with a solution to make life better.
Thank you, sir. Our next question, we'll start off with Mr. Moreland. Again, we have a couple of questions in this area, so I'm going to kind of paraphrase between the two. This afternoon, we've discussed various needs and projects for Lake of the Woods. Where would we prioritize the health of our lakes with the many competing needs in Lake of the Woods? Are we on schedule to bring our lakes up to the desired level or not?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. That's one of my points I think we need to be looking at. I think our lakes management plan has given us a leg up on a lot of places, and it is important how we take care of our lakes. And we have made progress with the various projects that are going on. I see two particular things that we need to address in the coming year. One, we're having a presentation at the next board meeting on August 6th on invasive species. We need to be ahead of that game. We have boats that come in here. Some of you take them to Florida, bring them back. Other people come in, our fishing regattas and those things. We don't know necessarily what they may be bringing into the lake, and we want to try to get ahead of that. So I think that's one area we need to look at. A second one, I have some interest in is on the forebays we've been building, where water comes through there and the sediment gets kind of pulled out and in the forebay instead of going into the lake. I want us to be sure we have the schedules, because if we don't get those forebays emptied out, we get a gully washer, which we haven't had a lot of lately, but we had them earlier. It would then wash that sediment right out of those containers on into the lake. So as long as we got a schedule, we're looking at that, I think that takes care of a problem that we might have. But the lake is the lifeline of this community. It is an important factor that we need to take care of, and I think our Lakes Management Report helps us to do that, but we do review that every year, need to continue that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
Well, evidently he's more informed than me. I guess he gets to hear more. But as far as the quality of the lake, I know when I first moved here 4 years ago, I went fishing out here and the water was crystal clear. You could see fish swimming deep down in the water. And lately I've noticed I haven't seen that many fish swimming around, and it's been a lot greener. And I'm just sitting here thinking, why is this happening? We don't have any real control about what spills into this lake from outside of our community. And whatever they're using up there, I know Flat Run, I know there's a lot of farms and what have you back up that way. And I'm sure they use fertilizers. I heard there was hogs up there, and some of that sediment comes down into our lake. I know one thing, the fish are getting fatter and bigger in here. I don't know why. Maybe it's what they're eating. But we've got to control this lake and what's happening to it. I don't know how the big lake compares to the small lake as far as the health of both lakes. If one's better than the other one, it's just it's a toss-up, and that's not my forte. I think we have people in management right now that is their forte, and they know exactly what they're doing, and I hope they can continue to do a better job of it, and I'd like to see, if we do have problems, it go away quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Ho?
I think that the Lakes Management Plan is a good one. Could we do more? Of course we could, but that takes more money. And even though the Lakes Management Plan is and has been, I think, the highest priority project at the lake, okay, we still have to balance that with other things because it's not the only project that we have to get done. So again, it falls into the category of prioritization and planning so that we can optimize everything that we try to do. A lot of the things that would have made the lakes better, particularly the small lake, have made the golf course not as pleasant. And that's one of the prices that the golfers have had to pay for the cleaner small lake. So everything is a trade-off. Everything has to be prioritized. And I think, though, that we're on the right track with having that much priority on the Lakes Management Plan. The comment and the possibility of when we hear at the next board meeting about the invasive species, I'll tell you what, you want to hear some scary things, come to that meeting and you'll hear some scary things. And there is no way in my mind, at least that I'm aware of, that we could be 100% effective in doing that, even if we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I don't believe that's an exaggeration because of how complex that issue is with people coming in and other things coming in that we have no control over.
Thank you. Mr. Tate?
When you go on the website, one of the headings is Lake Management Plan. I might want to read it one day, I think, if I was going to be on the board of directors. Haven't read it yet, but I have paid attention to the water analysis report because that's my background. As a former water treatment chemist, I understand phosphorus, nitrogen, turbidity, pH. So when we get those reports, I can see trends and I can understand what they're telling me about the quality of our lake. When my wife and I go out, the first thing we do, we leave the small marina and we go out and anchor and get in the water. I can still see my toes. So I think the clarity of water is really good. I haven't drunk it yet, so I don't know whether it's good to taste, and kind of I may not want to take anything in right now, but I'm glad we have a lake management plan. I attended the Lakes Committee. I didn't understand everything they were talking about. I'm not sure I would understand everything that's in the lake management plan either, but I know we're just spending some money right now doing some algae treatment. That I understand at the Keaton Lake. So I think we are doing everything we can right now to protect our number one amenity, and that's at lakes. Why I came here. You know, I use the lake, and I think if we just kind of make sure that we have people who are more knowledgeable than me operating that plan and looking at the future, what else needs to be done, and bringing us information, then I think as a board that we can make good decisions.
Thank you. I think it's important to point out that Mr. Smith had to leave as he's on call for the rescue squad today. Mr. Kowski.
I've noticed that the Lake Management Improvement Plan, taking care of the lakes, is the number one board priority, has been for the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, and I think it's going to continue to be a number one priority. The lakes are a main amenity.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Trying to think of something great to say, right? Because I don't have a background in aquatics or anything else. But I do know that we don't live in Golf Course of the Woods or Equestrian Center of the Woods. We live in Lake of the Woods, so it should be a priority. If you want to ask me about interrogations or interviews, I can do that with your kids. If you ask me about the lake, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have any idea. So I will defer to people that have the background in it, that are smart in it, and that is who I have to rely on, because I am not that smart. Sorry.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Mr. Clausen. We've got a couple of these, so I'll just get right to it. What is your position on the current referendum? Are you one of the one and done person, or are you the type that wants to keep doing it until they get it right?
Well, I guess we're talking about the golf course. Is that?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody likes to have a private community and nobody come in it, and it's we build a wall around it. I think China tried that one time, and that didn't quite work out too well, but now we're in full trade with China. So if we have amenities in here that can't make money and they can't support themselves, I don't know what we're going to do. We have two choices. We bite the bullet and we pay higher dues to help those amenities stay open, or we let people come in and try to control what they're doing while they're in here. That's going to be the real problem. If they want to come in and use the golf course and play golf, how do we control those people and make them stay where they're supposed to be? Because they can go anywhere. They can go to your house. They can go to the country club and eat. They can go to the swimming pool. They can go anywhere. So it's a matter of control about if that's what you want to do, or else you need to just raise the dues and take care of them. We have a lot of amenities in here that lose money. I just would like to see some way for them to make more money, or else we're going to have to pay for it ourselves.
Thank you. Mr. Hogue?
Well, I confess, I'm a golfer, and I've been playing on one of the nicest courses around, which is right here at Lake of the Woods. It's not cheap to have a good golf course. It's one of, but not the most of the important amenities. I think the lake is more important, but we've got to keep a good golf course. And to do this, there's a happy medium. We're not trying to open the gates to everybody that drives down Route 3 and sees hole number 16 in the car and turns in and wants to play. I think not only is it, would the referendum, if it passes, be helpful for funding some of the golf course operations, but I think it's goodwill as well. The VSGA, Virginia State Golf Association, can no longer play here at Lake of the Woods. These are golfers that are pretty serious golfers, as people here that go to travel and play at other courses. I think the referendum is well done, except it was not, in my opinion, we did not announce the critical mass of votes that were needed to get a good sample size. If we had said, for example, that statistically we needed 2,900 ballots to come in, that gives us a number that will give us a good statistical sample, both whether it wins or loses, we'd know that would be accurate. I think if we had approached it that way, it might have been a little bit easier to explain why we needed to continue to that number. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tate.
I understand that we need the additional revenue. I kind of agree with Carl. I'm not so sure that there's a way to police a person that comes in here and plays a round of golf and jumps in the lake and goes for a swim and brings his family in, and how would you prevent that? But that's probably not a big issue. When I was playing golf before I lost my hips, I belonged to the Virginia Golf Association and played at other places and went to other country clubs that had amenities. I kind of did the honor system. I came in, played my round of golf, and went home. I was tired. It was time to go home. I didn't participate in other people's amenities. I just didn't think that was right. And I think there's a lot of people out there that want to come, play golf, don't mind paying the fees, contribute to the cost of our golf course, and then go home. And so I think it's probably a good way to continue the revenue that we've lost, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that they're here for golf. That's the only reason they're here. They're not here to go to the clubhouse. Certainly don't mind them spending money at fairways, especially when they're making the turn or at the 19th hole. I think that will be okay. But again, I think the people that are going to use it are going to be honest people. They're here to play golf and help contribute to the income that we need to maintain that golf course.
Thank you. Ms. Sikowski.
I am amazed that people are worried about golfers in our community when everybody in Orange County can come into our community. So that puzzles me. But I voted for the referendum, and I'll tell you why. Those 10% of angry people that want to add more income, that don't want our subsidies to be so high. If we allow other people to use our golf course, which is only used 7% of capacity, then we could have between $80,000 and $90,000 that we're not going to get this year if we don't pass the referendum or next year. And that goes a long way towards lowering our assessment, or at least helping with our assessment. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I am for the referendum just simply because I think if you look at, if you're at the guard shack and you see someone coming in and they say they're here to play around the golf and they don't live here, and they got a car full of kids, probably there's something else going on. If it's just a couple of guys coming in here to play golf, and they're going to say they're going to play golf. But I agree with her. It's additional income, and also it exposes people to Lake of the Woods. If they see parks, if they see, they drive by the clubhouse because they go the wrong way, or they see different things and different aspects and get a different viewpoint of our community, who's to say they won't move here? Who's to say they might not have family that might want to move here? So I think it's a win-win. It's hard not to be jaded and think that people aren't going to come in here and use the beach or use different things. But really, honestly, if they go to the clubhouse and they buy dinner, what's the big deal? If they go and they do something else, it could be a big deal. But face it, any kid or any adult can go over to Burger King and walk across the street by the volunteer fire department and walk into our community anyway. So who are we really trying to keep out? Because anybody can come on here anyway. So if other people outside want to use the golf course and generate revenue, then I'm for it.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland.
Well, this community has a long record of not being able to pass a referendum the first time it goes before the members. So I think it's a continuation of that. I think we also have to consider we're not talking about opening the whole thing up, but we were responding to the fact of the VSGA, which was coming into play, which we've been doing for 15 or more years, but Supreme Court decision said we couldn't do that, and so we wound up having to go this route. I agree with Bob. I think if we maybe as a board had made it a little clearer at the first where we were looking at in the long run, it wouldn't have been such a surprise that it was extended. I think most people thought it was going to be extended anyway because that's been our history in order to get enough votes to go through. We are moving forward with that, and I think it's going to be to the benefit of the community once we are able to close this off.
Thank you. Our next question will start off with Mr. Ho. Okay. If elected, what actions will you support to involve younger residents to attend board meetings, to become volunteers on individual committees, or even potential board candidates?
Well, this is closely related, I think, to the earlier question. And it's a difficult problem. As I mentioned, for the kids to be involved these days, they've got to think it's cool. There are a lot of different ways that have been attempted in the past, and if I understand it correctly, they have not been as successful as any of us would have liked. I would support having a representative of the youth at our board meetings. I don't know if they would like to come. I would support having youth members as representatives on some of our committees, even if it's only on an ad hoc basis, so they could come in, provide their ideas, and then not have to worry about committing themselves to monthly meetings and so forth. But I think it's important that we do reach out to them, and the way to reach out to them is social media. So we have to figure out how to do that more effectively. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Tate?
I'm not even sure what I said a few minutes ago when we were talking about the same subject, but we just got to find a way to get them involved. You know, I think some of these kids, when they get to high school, they get involved with their local student government. And you wonder why that doesn't pass on here and get involved with the community government and be a part of this. Maybe we're just not asking them the right way. Maybe there's just nothing for them to do. I think we got to figure out a way, and it's beyond my thoughts of what we can do at this point in time. And I think we need to go back and talk to their parents and say, well, what activities are your kids involved in at school that we can kind of get them going here, and maybe we can get some enthusiasm going. But certainly maybe form some type of steering committee like they have in high school, and let them then have some way to function with us as a board. Would be kind of, maybe we can duplicate, like I said, what they do in high school with the kids, and maybe we can kind of bring that into somehow here.
I was going to ask Jack to reread that question because I think he's talking about young adults and not kids. Can you clarify that, Jack? Are we talking about young adults or kids in that question?
Okay. The question is, if elected, what actions will you support to involve younger residents to attend board meetings, become volunteers on individual committees, and even potential board candidates?
Okay. That's what I thought. We were talking about young adults. Okay, I have a confession. We've lived here 26 years, but it was really hard for me to get involved in the community until I retired because I had a 15-hour day, which was really difficult. So I was on the Youth Activities Committee back in the day and the Pool and Fitness Committee, and I struggled to make those meetings. So I remember thinking, and during my long commutes and feeling guilty that when I retired, I would give back to the community and being so grateful to the seniors who were taking care of this community. So it's hard. If you're working full-time, it's really hard if you have kids to do this. But I want to commend Jeff for running because this is the first time I've known of someone, a young person who's working to run for the board. And I think we should try to accommodate young people who run for the board.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Wow, thank you. It's difficult. When we first moved here, I'll tell you it's something that irritated me. I won't say I want to bitch about it, but when you communicate to the younger community, the first thing that you do in the Lake of the Woods in the current is don't put your meeting minutes in some legal form, because the last thing I want to read is some legalese that it's hard to understand. Bottom line up front, tell me what was said, tell me what you guys agreed upon, and tell me how you're going to move forward. Because when I got to read the Lake of the Woods current and try and differentiate what's legalese and just all this minuscule junk, it irritates me. So, sorry. If you do that, I apologize. I'm not a lawyer. I worked with lawyers, and I didn't like them anyway. So, although they have a great retirement. But how do you relate to the younger community and get them to be involved? First thing is better communication. And I think the second thing is just to continue to appeal. I do appreciate all the people that keep this place going, because I don't do it. And I seriously appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, that have done it in the past and that continue to do it. Communicate with them. Absolutely communicate with them. And stop making pertinent things that are important to me, like fitness center. Stop making the meetings on Tuesdays at like 11 in the morning. I can't make it. And I don't want to dial in. I want to be there. I'm not saying that everyone can make it at 7 o'clock at night, and you guys maybe can't make it at 7 o'clock at night. But find a way to make the meetings that people want to be involved in available to people like me. I work in D.C. I leave at 3:30 in the morning. I get home at about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't be there Tuesdays at 11. The VA is important to me. I'm a retired veteran, right? I go to church on Thursday nights, so I'm not part of the VA club yet, just because of the day of the week it falls on. So again, make the communication clear, and make the availability of the appointments for the clubs open so that I can make them. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland?
Well, the board has tried various different meeting times, and we've never seen a change as far as the number of people that show up. So we have tried to move it around different days, different times, and to encourage people to be there. Leighton has always talked about we should do our board meetings live, and I've always said I think that's great. If some people having trouble sleeping at night, that would be the first thing they could turn on, and that would help them accomplish that. It is difficult because as we're at the young age, we are involved with our kids, we are involved with our jobs, and so I'm not sure we would ever find a time that's totally going to work for everybody. We try to be open. The legalese, I agree with what Jeff's saying, but we're kind of handcuffed on some of that because you have to do it that way, or you get in trouble and get sued with all the other kind of things that happen. So I can see it's hard, but somehow we wade through it in order to do that. But I think the activities are changing. The people are getting more involved. Many of the committees do work at night and try to move their meetings around as well, and I'm not sure what else we can do. Encourage people, but it is a time commitment. It is quite a bit of time to read and stay up on everything and attend all the meetings no matter when we put them on, and there's plenty of studies to show your productivity drops after a certain time in the evening after 8:30, that you don't accomplish that much. So I'm not sure what else we can do, but we'll keep trying.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
Well, I'm looking out here at this group. I don't see too many young people out there. Social media is probably the best way to get a hold of them. I'd like to get them organized a little bit, let them form their own committees, and maybe even send liaisons to other committees if we can find that many kids that would actually come to a meeting, get involved, and volunteer. Because you've got to get them to volunteer. You've got to get them interested in this stuff. And I think the only way you're going to be able to do that is create some activities that these kids want to be involved in. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be our final question, but I think it's one that a lot of people want to hear about. We're going to start with Mr. Tate. Assuming you could not do both, as a director, which would be your top fiduciary responsibility? Number one, keeping the assessment from rising, or two, maintaining property values?
Is this the rock and the hard place? Boy, my property took a hit, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they devalued our properties. It's starting to go back up, but in order for us to keep our property values up, we have to have things around here that's going to do that, and that's one of the values of, why we're thinking about a new fitness center in a pool. Realistically, the assessments are going to rise and fall a little, but they're going up. If you look at what the 5-year plan on what needs to be done around here, there's plan for them to go up in 2 years, a little bit more, and a little bit more after that, and then come down a little bit. I know these are projections up and down, but it's not going to remain the same. I'm really concerned as a property owner, the value of my property owner, and I think my number one concern would be do whatever it takes around here to keep my value up on my home.
Thank you. Ms. Zukowski.
That is such a tough question, and I don't think there's a good answer. So I'm going to try to say it's a balancing act. You don't want your assessments to go up. You just don't. At the same time, you don't want this to become a community in decline because it's almost impossible to bring it back up. So it's a balancing act, a lot of conversation, a lot of meetings.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
So this is like when the wife's asked you, do I look good in this? Right? Because my answer is to my wife, you look damn good in everything you wear. But in her mind, it's, I don't know if I look as good in this as you say I do. So this question, honestly, I think the answer is with the person who asks it or the group of people who ask it, because really you could go 50-50 either way. They are spot on 100%. You have to have amenities to increase your property value, to have those amenities and to keep them up to date. I would hope that we could maintain them without increasing the cost of anything very much. If it does, it does. Financial responsibility and accountability is on all of us. And if I'm elected, it's my accountability to answer back to you. You may not like the answer. I may not like the answer, but I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that this is where we're at. None of us can be elected and automatically make all these changes and change everything 100% overnight. It's not going to happen. But as a group of people that care and they're honest with the community, I think it's attainable. There are still going to be people that complain. So what's the answer to that question? Seriously. There's not a great answer for that question.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland?
Well, it's a fairly easy question in some ways because our governing documents require us to protect and ensure the property values of the members of the community. So that's where our priority is. Now we can try to do as much as we can to be sure the assessments stay within reason, but we are required fiduciarily as a board to ensure the property values.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen?
We are about to do a lot of improvements in here, and this board that is active right now, we're going to lose 5 of them. So the new board that's coming on, whether it's me or any one of these people up here, we're probably going to get a lot of the heat from what these decisions are made from the 5 people that's left. I'm going to tell you, I don't look forward to that. But I'll stick there, and I'll stick by my guns, and if I'm elected, and I'll try to do my best to work everything out. But if you're going to try to improve your value of your properties, your dues are either going to go up, or you've got to find a way to pay for it. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our questioning.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob?
If I get a chance, I'll finish this up on time. I look out in the audience and I see a couple of the board members who are going off the board, and they're smiling broadly. But I would say that no one was forced to move to Lake of the Woods. They moved here for the location, they moved here for the lifestyle, and we, I should say, moved here for the amenities. And it's been a great place to live. We love it, our family loves it, and contrary to many people, our grandkids that are getting older now like to come back here. One of them's here this week, and another one was here 2 weeks ago. So part of that is maintaining that lifestyle, maintaining the amenities, and maintaining the attractiveness of Lake of the Woods in the future. So I would vote for maintaining the amenities even though I know that the assessments are probably going to go up a little bit each year. Thank you.
Sure. Betty?
It's on. Thank you all for coming, but I want to give any of you that would like to make a final comment out here. We can start at one end and go to the other, and you can say something if you wish. Mr. Moreland?
Well, I would just appreciate everybody's support. I've enjoyed the time I've been on the board, and I think I can still bring that leadership, and we have a lot of issues, and we really want to work to keep the harmony with the members. Thank you.
Vote for Carl.
Thanks for coming. Vote for whoever you think's going to do the best job for everyone in the community.
I was a preacher for 3 years and stood before a congregation twice on Sunday and gave sermons. And this is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. That was a whole lot easier. I was a nervous wreck. I'm glad to be going home.
I would really love the opportunity to serve you as a board director.
100% transparency. I'm voting for her. And I thank the younger people for coming out. I think you guys are important. I thank the older people for coming out because obviously you guys are a foundation for us. So thank you.
Yes, I say thank you to all of you too. It was a nice group that came today, and that makes us all, they and us, feel a lot better. Thank you very much. Vote! Vote!
Thank you, sir. Nice job. Nice job.